Welcome to today's webinar. So today's topic, we're going to talk about how to use video to become the go-to expert to attract ideal clients. So an exciting topic and one that I think is probably new to a lot of people doing a lot of new CPAs, especially as they want to try to promote their business. I'm going to facilitate today's session. I am Tom Wadelton. I'm one of the full-time virtual CFOs at Summit CPA Group. I've been doing this kind of facilitation role for about a year and a half, and one of the parts of my job that I just love doing. To get a couple of housekeeping items out of the way. So today is a 1 CPE credit session. We do need you to attend all 50 minutes. We have 3 polling questions and need you to answer all of those. Having done that, you will get the CPE certificate sent out to you within the next week. We'll also send out replay slide information. Since people can't interact directly with us, we have a question function. We do ask you to use that. We'll all be monitoring that. I'll be especially watching that, and at times interrupt the speaker and say, hey, can you answer this? Or maybe just answer directly in that portion. So please do that. That really helps it be as interactive as we can make it. So a little bit about our company. So we started in 2002, and since 2004, we've been providing CFO and back office services to clients. Back in 2013, we went fully distributed. So employees working from home gives us that flexibility, and clients all over the country and actually all over the world. And now we're up to 55 plus employees that we have across the world. So a little bit about our 2 speakers. Stephen Pope has been a guest on our webinars in the past, CEO and founder of SGP Labs. So we're looking forward to hearing about your expertise. Kelly works with me within Summit CPA Group and is our director of marketing. So Stephen, you want to?
I'm really just here to hang out with Stephen because this is really Stephen's show, but I'm here to chime in if I can help and answer questions if they come up. So yeah, thanks Stephen, I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. And so just to talk a little bit about, so when we talk about becoming the go-to expert, using video to do that, and then getting people to, and then attracting your ideal clients, and ultimately having them reach out to work with you. So a lot of the time, as business owners, we think, hey, I would love to just have people reaching out to us. But most of the time when people wake up, they're not thinking about buying our services. They don't even necessarily know that that our solution exists. They don't even know they have a problem. And so they go about their marketing in such a way that they're really just waiting for things to happen, or they're just waiting for referrals. And so this is just like a quick snapshot of my calendar. These are people that have been introduced to me through video content in a various number of places, and then just really found me and then booked a call directly on my calendar. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be talking about how to actually make this happen, so that people know that you exist, they begin to trust you, and they literally just seek you out and then book time on your calendar. And then these are the same things that Summit CPA is doing. Like we're literally going to go through the same model. Everybody implements these things in a little bit different way, but Summit CPA does this. I've helped them on their journey, and this is Kelly reaching out to me, back at last summer, just saying, hey, we got 10 new clients in a single month from their YouTube channel. And then this is another one of my clients, and I helped him double the size of his firm in just a year. And in the second year, we doubled that again. So there's a lot of opportunity here to take advantage of video marketing, especially for CPAs, because frankly, a lot of CPAs don't do that, right? It's like it can be a little frightening to get on camera, and it's also not your skill set, which is fine. I mean, it's you're a professional at what you do. And so kind of what my mission is what I've found is that when people are getting into this kind of thing, it can be very overwhelming. There's a lot of information, and you're also busy doing other things. So it feels like there's not enough time. And so what I've seen happen is that people get stuck. They just don't do anything because they don't know quite what to do. They don't have the time. It's hard to invest time into something when you don't feel like you're going to get a return from it. Or there's so much information, they just try to implement everything, and they spread themselves way too thin. There's not enough focus, and then they don't make an impact. And then unfortunately, there's a lot of situations where people spend a lot of money. I mean, I've seen people spend a lot, and it didn't work, and they wasted a lot of time, money, and effort. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to try to do here is really try to reduce the overwhelm, make it as simple as possible, and provide a roadmap such that you feel like you could confidently move forward incrementally and feel confident that what the time and the money you're going to spend is worthwhile. So one thing that I want to point out is that, and this is there's all sorts of studies around this, but 80% of people prefer to learn about a company really on their own terms well before they hire them. So they love to be able to go out and just like, what is this person about? Do they have a website? What kind of content is there? Is it a blog? Is it a video? But they like to learn about companies before they actually reach out and hire them, even if it's through a referral, right? So somebody might refer you, but they're going to go to your website and they might get 2 or 3 different referrals, and they're going to go to your website and they're going to want to learn more. And it's the person that has the content that can describe and help people out that is going to win at the end of the game. So it's important to realize that content is becoming paramount in terms of growing your business. Mm-hmm. And then this is an article from HubSpot. And then in terms of content, you know, video is starting to become king. I mean, it's really been doing this for quite a while. Most of us enjoy YouTube at times, Netflix, all these different things. There's TikTok now. I know that seems like way out of left field for a lot of people right now, but these platforms, these video platforms are exploding. And here's this is just for 2020. I don't have the stats for 2021, but you can see just year after year the amount of
incredible growth, isn't it?
Yeah, and then what's interesting is, like, I show you this graph, but most likely if you just look at your own life, and like we talked about buying, we talked about content and video, you probably like to watch or view some content from the people you buy from, and you probably watch a lot of video as well. So you don't really need me to tell you this. I'm just kind of like bringing it to the forefront. So there is a massive opportunity. We're only just beginning, especially for CPAs. There's not many people doing this. Like Summit is a rare, you know, Kelly has led that, and they're a rare company. So there's a massive opportunity with video, especially with CPAs. And so you don't want to look out from a year from now and say, man, I really missed out. I regret not doing this. I wish I had done video. I wish I had figured this out. Because if you just do it step by step, incrementally, you will figure it out. Kelly, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. But yeah, I've mentioned this. We did another webinar together about a year ago, probably, and all of our webinars we now put on YouTube. All of our podcasts we do on video and put on YouTube. And I mean, I can say we've seen a big difference just in people finding us because of those videos that we're putting out. It's stuff we're doing anyway. It's just we're just creating the opportunity for video out of the things that we're doing anyway. Instead of just like wrapping up this webinar and this was it, we did a live session, we put them on YouTube, and we've had some have had thousands of views afterwards, just because we're repurposing the content that way.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get into some of that. So like how we can make this actually efficient so that you can imagine yourself actually doing this. So just
if I can go ahead and launch one of the first poll questions, is that okay? Let people see the slide first, and then, okay, go ahead and answer the poll question, but then, Stephen, you're good to go.
Yeah, and just a little bit about me. So my name is Stephen G. Pope, and I'm the CEO of SGP Labs. And how I got to where I am now, helping professional firms, consultants grow their businesses. I grew a previous business. It was a tech consulting firm. I grew that from really scratch to a couple $1 million a year. I was on Inc. Magazine's fastest growing companies. And after I sold that company and went to start my next company, I really started to see that I was just getting really excited about everything that was happening with video and content and social media, and how you could leverage that for your business. And then I started looking back at my previous business. And I was like, wow, if I had understood some of these things, then I would have been able to grow that business even faster. And I love working with entrepreneurs and helping them grow their business. And so I really just started to develop a program that and it went through a couple different iterations, but I started developing a program and then started working with companies like Summit and a few other clients and helping them grow, and then helping myself grow. And that's really how I ended up here, helping people grow their business.
Good. About 10 seconds, I'm going to close the poll, and then people can see the slides again.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see this one, because the way a firm is going to, okay, interesting. Yeah, okay, 2 to 10, 1, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
No,
But
there's
more
quite a
than
few.
50% in a 10 or less person organization or firm.
Yeah, yeah, and there's quite a few larger firms here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, great, great to know. And so we are talking about video, and so I think one of the things that does come up is fear. I'm on video literally every day now, which is not the way it used to be. I used to be completely afraid to do these types of webinars, to get on video, to do social media. You can see this is me about a year and a half ago when I posted my first LinkedIn video. I was like literally scared out of my mind. And
I love when you
and
share this.
Good for you.
I really was, but like now I'm not. And I mean, I have my little jitters here and there like everybody, but what I like to tell people is like, so there's the whole building your business thing, and we all want to make more money and use that to build the life we want. But there's also the feeling and overcoming these fears that maybe you've had for a long time, being able to articulate yourself really well. And so there's the reward of building your business. Yes, that's what I'm here for. That's what everyone's here for. But don't underestimate the skill to communicate and get on video and conquer some of these things that a lot of us have had a lot of fear around. So let's talk a little bit about the way marketing has been done in the old way. So I think this is important because I think where a lot of people do get overwhelmed and they do have a lot of frustration is that they have these big launches. Like they hire an outside firm and they come in, they do all of this work, and it's kind of theoretical, right? It's just like people, like it's you and the marketer, and you're coming up with your tagline, and it doesn't really involve your customers. There's no interaction with your customers and really learning from their point of view what is going on. And a lot of the output that is created is really just like a nice fancy website, a nice fancy video, or just like a few static assets that represents all of this discussion and all of this money. And what ends up happening, right, is like there's no real impact. And that's what we talked about in the beginning, is that there's a lot of frustration around spending all this time and money. And it's because it's disconnected from actually people seeing these things. Like nobody's seeing this fancy website, nobody's seeing this video because nobody's actually coming to it. And then if they do, it may not actually even resonate with them because it wasn't really built with them in mind. And so I ran a tech consulting firm, so I'm from the tech world. This is a very known thing in the tech space, but really the new way of doing marketing is keeping things super simple and doing MVP. So in the tech space, it's minimal viable product, but in the marketing way, I say it's a minimal viable plan. Like, what's the smallest thing that we can start to do and take some action and do it in a scientific way where we're kind of measuring what we're doing, where we can make quick improvements, we're lean and efficient, and we're doing everything with purpose, right? So everything that we do has a reason behind it. And we're not spending a ton of money, we're not doing a bunch of different things, we're doing a few things and doing them with purpose.
Steve, it sounds so simple, but that sounds like the best way to be doing that like 6 months later versus a huge expensive lift that you say, okay, this is not sustainable, and then you just quit.
Right.
The approach you suggested.
Yeah, because right. So like the polls showed us that there's some people, like 24% of the people, there's one person, right? So you're only going to have so much time to do this. Even the firms that have 2 to 10, once you have 11 to 25, you're going to start having more resources at that point. But you only have so much time. And what I find is that, and I guess this is going off on a little tangent, but it's going off of what you said, is just that people think they need to do a bunch of things to get attention, but it's actually just being really focused and going deep on something, and just doing something with a lot of impact really well. And that's how you can maintain that focus and not get overwhelmed with what you're doing. So how do you actually implement something like this? I know this is going to sound kind of obvious, but you have a strategy and a plan. Super obvious, but most people actually don't go through these simple steps. And this isn't me reinventing the wheel. Like, you can go to Google and type, go-to market strategy, and it's going to tell you these same things. So you have to go through these basic steps and talk about, like, who is your market? Like, this is a place where people get really stuck. They go broad, right? They want to serve everybody. But the trick is like, the more niche you go into, the easier it is to become an expert. Like the more fine-tuned you are. Like if I helped everybody do marketing, I probably wouldn't be that good. But I focus on video, I focus on content, I focus on professional firms, consultants, people that sell services. So I can get really good at that niche. So who's your target market? What are you offering? What is the actual offer? What is the product? What transformation are you providing to people? And then, really what makes you different, And in professional services, what makes you different is it's often not like the actual service, it's really your experience. So a lot of the time we end up working with a certain industry a lot, right? And so you start to learn how that industry talks. So I've been a professional service in the professional services my entire life. So I understand just the nature of client-based businesses. And I was in technology. And so it's just like, why are you different? What makes you stand out? What do you stand against that everyone else in the marketplace is saying? And so how do you position yourself so that you're really different and that to your niche and to what you offer, it's going to be a really compelling offer. And then the fourth, lock you need to unlock is really where are you going to do this? Where are those customers hanging out? So most of the time, a niche of people, they hang out together. So CPAs, right? They're coming to this webinar to learn. They need CPA credit. So there's places where your target market hangs out, and and especially for businesses, if you do marketing to businesses like LinkedIn, that's an obvious choice. But like, where do these people hang out, right? And then you go there and you start to deliver this message. And then once you have the where, like where are we going to do this, then you just develop the how. Okay, so this is really like the plan. What are the things you need to do in order to roll this marketing strategy out? And then how do you prioritize it and then put the things that are going to give you the most impact at the top, so that you're just working just with focus just through each of these different items. And one thing I would say is that the myth is that you have to get these unlocked like out of the gate. So people spend a little bit too much time and they obsess over these things a little bit too much. What I say is, like, you're gonna make your best guess. You're gonna go through this process and really think about what you know and talk to a few different people. But you're just gonna make a best guess. You're not gonna get stuck, and you're just gonna move through it and realize that over time you will come back to each of these different things and improve it over time. Because I think just a lot of people they either don't do this or they just they just spend too much time on their niche. Like, you can figure your niche out, right, over time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to expert content. So this is the next piece is expert content. So what type of...
Okay, I'll go ahead and launch the next poll question. When you mentioned
absolutely.
type, this one fits perfectly with that topic.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so what type of expert content are you going to create? This is what ultimately proves that you're the expert and allows people to see what you're all about before they ever meet you, right? And this is what allows clients to feel comfortable with you. They ultimately learn the solutions that you provide and whether it matches with them or not. And so what's kind of interesting about that is that not only does content attract the right people, but it also pushes the wrong people away. So if you're busy, you don't necessarily want to be talking to clients that really aren't a good fit. And so when you create this content, then you can ultimately attract the right people. And then the people that just aren't a good fit, they're gonna disqualify themselves. And so there's a lot of different ways you can go about creating this content. And this is the one thing where I have a lot of fun, is that everyone's different. Everyone's skill set is different. And so my job as a marketer and your job as a business owner or a CEO is to figure out for yourself what's going to make the most sense to position yourself. So there's obviously workshops and webinars. These have been around forever. That's what we're doing right now. There's podcasts, which is really an audio channel, but I really kind of think of it more as a video podcast. So how can you do something on video? Let's see, this is interesting. So here's the poll results. So blog posts, great. Video, workshops, all the above. Wow, nice. None of the above. So
I think we have people in the right group. You're in the right session, right? Only 8% doing video. How perfect.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what holds people back from that.
Yeah.
So here, and just a note on this, like blog posts, videos, all these different things, they can all work. Just keep in mind that, like blog posts are hard to grow at this point. So Summit CPA grew a lot of their business in the beginning from blogging, but they got in so early that they really secured their spot in SEO. SEO is one of those things that does take a long time for it to work. Whereas with video and getting onto social media, you can create rapid awareness rather quickly. So anyways, go ahead.
We use our video content to create blog posts. So the video that we create, which includes our podcasts, because we do those on video also, we then take those and create blog posts on, and other articles, but on the topics that are discussed. So that way it helps us repurpose that content. And which is great for me because I'm not an accountant. So I can get a couple of accountants in the room having a conversation about a topic, and then I get all of the necessary information I need to then create written content. So for us, repurposing it is really, really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, no, that's a great addition. And so there's a bunch of different options. So the trick is to kind of find like, what are you going to feel comfortable with? And because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed here. And I do want to talk about, so there's workshops, live Q&As, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these options, because workshops and webinars are pretty obvious, but Q&As and video are a little bit different. But I would say the one thing that I do find is that, people feel like they have to have a real fancy setup or equipment, have an amazing background, or they have imposter syndrome, and they let these things keep them from taking action and seizing the opportunity. And so they really never execute on these video strategies. But what I encourage people to do is just find a way to move forward and demonstrate your expertise, engage with your customers. People really just want their problem solved. You can always improve your show over time. And so you can, like Summit CPA was doing their podcast on Zoom for a long time. They just recently switched out of that. And I've seen people go from $0 to $15 million a year with a Zoom podcast. It was a video podcast. So, but let's talk a little bit about the podcast. And I almost want to call it an interview, because like I said, if you do an interview and it's recorded on Zoom or on a podcasting platform, you're going to record the video and the audio. And so you can create the podcast and put that on the audio platforms, but you can also record that on video and put that to YouTube or your website. But the interviews are real nice because they allow you to network with people. So you can reach out to people that you don't know, people that are not in your industry. You can even reach out to people that you would like to have as a client, and you can just bring them on your show. And you can literally do networking at scale. And then once the show is over, you can actually give the video to that person and let them leverage it as well, right? So that's a great opportunity. It's also, you also get to learn a lot through these interviews, especially if you're bringing on clients. You can really have that time to really learn about what their pain points are instead of just guessing. It's hard to learn about your customers when you're delivering the service or when you're doing a sales call, because you're essentially delivering a service or trying to sell. Whereas if you're just talking with somebody, you can really get into their mind and learn a little bit more about them. And it's also really easy, right? So you don't have to do a lot of preparation to have an interview. You just have a couple different questions. 3 or 4 questions will last 20, 30 minutes, no problem. And now you're off and running, and you're not having to come up with daily or with like weekly content. So like a webinar, like I had to prepare for this. If you're doing that every week, some people can do it. Some people are comfortable with that, but it can be overwhelming for some people. So doing the interviews is a great way to start. And then another interesting way of starting as well is just doing Q&A. So I've seen a lot of people do this. This is kind of where I'm moving towards now. But this is where you just invite your existing customers or potential customers just to learn more about, not you, but like learn more about how you can help them. And maybe I should phrase that a little bit as just like, what questions do they have about their business or their accounting or whatever that they would like to get answered? I know a lot of people did this, specifically in the CPA industry during COVID. They just started having these events where people could come in and ask all these important questions. So that was obviously a way to take advantage of that moment. But the Q&As are nice because you're actually helping people. You're answering their questions instead of trying to figure out what they want. So like when people, a lot of the time people have when they're creating content, they have a hard time thinking about, okay, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do this time? What am I going to do that time? Well, with Q&As, people are literally telling you their questions and you just get to answer it. And then you're also positioned as the expert throughout the entire conversation as the expert because you're answering the questions. Whereas in an interview, the other person might be the expert and you're kind of going back and forth. And so the Q&A just gives you an opportunity to just be like the expert answering questions, and they're really relevant. You can write them down and you really learn like what people are actually asking. And then again, this is easy, right? You don't need to do a lot of preparation to roll this out. It's because you're answering everyone else's questions. You might have a couple of bullet points that you might want to cover, but it's pretty simple. So when I'm helping people think this through, I usually help them think this like, so why don't you start off with just doing the interviews because it gets you going, it's easy. And then over time, you can kind of start to mix in the Q&As. And then over time, you can really have a mixture of events, webinars, workshops. And but if you layer it in this way, it provides like a real simple way for you to get started and then kind of just get better over time. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about efficiency. So this is what Kelly was talking about. So how do you now make this efficient? So recording the event. So you got that recorded, but now how are we going to break this up into or how are we going to take that video and really multiply that effort so that we're not like feeling like we have to create content every day, because that's going to lead to burnout. So the next key is really efficiency. Repurposing that longer video that we just recorded, whether it's an interview, a workshop, a webinar, and then turning that into a podcast. So you can see that you can send that audio to the podcasting platforms. You can then take the video and make smaller clips from it. You can make images. You can turn the audio, you can turn the transcript into a blog. It's really kind of depending on like where you want to focus your time and energy. Every company is a little bit different and a different size, and they have different capabilities. But the myth is you don't need to be creating all this original content on a daily basis to build your content machine. In fact, it's really the opposite. People overestimate the effort, and so again, they get overwhelmed and they don't do it, or they try to actually create content every day and they can get pretty burned out. But once you get this right, and once you start to repurpose the content, you're going to have a simple system where you're recording video every other week, potentially once a month, and then you can take that content and then just start distributing it. And then as you get good at it, you can record more often. But if you do this, you can literally have daily content that you can push out, and you can see how Summit CPA does this as well. They're on LinkedIn, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, and they might be in a few other places that I don't know. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I have a question for you. So Stephen, you post videos daily, right? Or you used to? Is it still daily?
Yeah.
And do you batch your content creation then, or are you filming yourself every day?
Yeah, and so there's kind of two things to that. So there's repurposing long form content into smaller bits of content that you distribute, and then there's also like recording individual videos, which I could probably touch on that a little bit too. But yeah, so I try to batch it. But what I have found is that everybody needs to experiment a little bit with this on their own. Some people can do it on the fly, and then some people want to batch it. When you're creating the individual videos that you might push on to LinkedIn or anything like that's just like where it's like, instead of it being repurposed content, it's like literally where I'm speaking to the camera and I'm just giving a tip, and it's just a video that I recorded. Yeah, it depends on everybody, but I think most people try to batch it, or they're not actually even creating those individual videos. But those individual videos are really great for building rapid awareness of these other things that you are doing. So we could probably talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
But like one of my clients, Kirk, he records every other week, and he's got content coming out every week, which is really nice. He spends about an hour a week just coming in and doing that, and then he gets a lot of attention, even from his own internal networks. So it's pretty cool. And it's when you're doing this that you are able to, you know, deliver these pieces of content where people are actually hanging out. So I think this is the key, right? So like we talked a little bit about the website and like the fancy videos that you might put together, but nobody's going to our website. Like people hang out on Facebook. I mean, things are changing on Facebook. They've had a massive drop in users recently. I don't know if anybody's noticed. It's kind of beside the point, but people hang out on Facebook. They hang out on Twitter. They read their email. They're on LinkedIn. They're listening to podcasts. They're on TikTok. Believe it or not, adults. They're actually on TikTok, and people are on YouTube. So if you want to be seen and heard, you need to take that content that you created, especially that short form stuff where people can digest small bits of information, and you just publish it there. This is like free advertising. When you post on LinkedIn or you post on TikTok, you can get thousands of people, potentially tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people to see this content. So, you know, on LinkedIn, I post every day because I've built out the systems there, and basically every day I have at least 1,000 to 10,000 eyeballs seeing my stuff. And then the same on TikTok. I won't go on a tangent on TikTok. TikTok, you can actually get quite a bit more than that. Yeah. And then I think we might actually have some time here, so I might go into Descript and show you how easy repurposing this content actually is.
Sure.
So yeah, and so ultimately, like this is the key. It's like actually driving engagement with people. It's like making an impact in people's life, right? So I get a lot of times people come to me and they're like, hey, I'm posting on social media, but like it's crickets. There's nothing. I don't have a like or a comment. And it's usually because they're not creating rich content that actually resonates with their market, right? It's usually a lot of the time, I see this a lot in the financial services, whether you're a financial advisor in the CPAs, you can actually go out and buy pre-made content. And then what I see is people buy those programs and then they post that content, and it just doesn't make an impact, right? Because you're using content that everybody is using. So you can't expect that to really stand out, right? But if you're having interviews or doing Q&As where there's an actual like content that really resonates with people and you're a subject matter expert, that's how you're going to break through all of the noise and really like stand out, be able to grab attention, awareness, build that trust, and actually turn that into revenue. So we've got some time here. Let me jump into Descript, because I think this could be kind of interesting to talk a little bit about the let me show you guys.
Lots of people having a lot of interest in when you say repurpose, right? Conceptually it makes sense, and then you're maybe sitting saying, I'm not a really technical person. This sounds like I have to build a skill or hire a person, and I'm a small firm.
Yeah, exactly. So so let me talk. How do I switch over here to Descript? Let me know if you guys can see this.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Descript, and it's a really amazing program. I would call it it's a video editing platform, but it's really made for people that aren't video editors, right? And so you could do most of the work that we've talked about today. You can do with just this single program. Let me make it full screen here. There we go. So if you open this up, and it's almost like editing a video, like it's a Word document. So if you open this up, you can see all these different things that I've done. These are all different live events or webinars and stuff. But all you have to do is come up to new and you create a project, and then it's going to ask you to drop in your video. And so you'll drop your video in there. And then after you do that, it's going to pull that in, and it's actually going to transcribe it for you, which is really, really quite cool. So on the left side, you're going to see the complete transcription of the video. So over here, I did a live show on how to streamline and automate your content workflow, a podcast and daily content in 2 to 3 hours, right? So there's the video on the right side, and then here's all the text on the left. And so let's say you wanted to make a clip from that. Well, instead of having to go through the video and start and stop it and try to decide, oh, this is a good clip or this is a good clip, you can literally just kind of remember and use the transcript on the left to kind of hone in on what was a good clip. And so you can see that I've already made a bunch of clips on the left here, but check out how easy this is. So if I just let's say I decided that this was a really good clip from that video. I can just select it, and then I can do a right click, and then I can say clip to composition, new, and then it's going to actually create that clip, right? So here we have the clip. It's just that little section, and it's just that piece of video. And so, you can play this, and it's just going to be that little section here. And it's got a bunch of cool features in terms of like removing the ums and the ahs. So I can come up here in the tools. I can shorten the word gap. So if there's a big long gap where I was.
Oh, I use Descript all the time. I didn't know that one.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
like a
try
hidden,
that one next time.
There's all sorts of hidden treasures in here. I won't be able to go into everything, but there's really cool stuff. Like you can even it has an AI feature that will take the audio and like turn it into something that sounds really like professional if you didn't have all that professional equipment. So you can shorten the word gaps, remove the filler words. So that's going to remove all the ums and the ahs and all that kind of stuff. You can actually, let's say you made this clip and you decided that this one sentence wasn't something that you really wanted. So you can kind of come in here and you could just delete that out, right? Which is really cool. And
when you delete that, sorry, this probably is a really dumb question. It's actually removing it from when you do the playback. The word comes out of the video. That's cool.
Yeah.
So if you're like me and you talk with your hands, you have to be very careful because when you cut out like a sentence like Stephen just did, or like when you cut out the ums, like I might say when my hands are like this, and then I cut that out and there's like a weird, I have to try to keep my hands down when I'm recording.
Yeah, for sure.
Steve, we've gotten a couple questions from people wanting to be really clear on what the software is.
It's called Descript. Descript, and you can get it at descript.com. That's DESCRIPT.com.
Perfect.
And it's just to be clear, it's a program that you download. You sign up online, but then you can download it.
Okay, great.
And so after you've gone through, you've done the editing on your clip, you can come down here and do a few little things. You can get really advanced with it, or you can keep it basic. I always encourage people just to keep it basic, and then over time, as you start to learn these things, you can just make things better. You can add in different things. But this is the interesting thing as well, is that not only can you have the clip, so depending on your experience with social media, you will notice that every platform is a little bit different. It's configured differently. So videos on TikTok or videos on Instagram are a little bit different than videos that are published to Facebook or LinkedIn. So like LinkedIn and Facebook, it's kind of more of a square format. So you can actually come in here and go to video settings, and you can change the orientation. So if it's for LinkedIn, I can turn it to a square, right? And you can even add a title to it. So if I select all of this, I can add a title to it, a text. So here's the title. I can say how to make, my computer's being a little slow here. How to make $1 million. Super easy, right? Well, I won't force you to watch everything, but so now you just add the title, and then you can do the same thing. You can add captions, which is really sweet. You can come up here. You can add fancy captions. So that's right down here at the bottom. It might be just the color issue. We'll see here. But if I play this, yeah, so you're going to see the captions right there. And now you're gonna want to, like, you can tell that this is black and things like that. So you can change all these different colors in the background. You can actually go into other platforms like Canva. That's another platform you really might want to check out if you want to do easy content creation. It lets you do graphic art and stuff like that. But then you can take that and you can update this stuff here as well, which is really cool. And then once you have this finished, then you can come over and you can do share, and you can do export, and you can export the text. So like we talked about, how do you repurpose this into a blog? So if I went back to the main file here, so that I got the entire transcript. So I could come up here and do a share. I could do export. I could do text, and it would export the entire text, and I could send this. This is what Summit CPA does. You can send this to a blog writer. They can clean it up. They can look at it, and they can actually create a blog from that. I can also export the audio, and I can also export the video. So if I click this, it's going to let me literally just export that clip that I created right down here, and then I can just take that straight to social media and post it, which is really sweet. And there's also things as well, is like you can create an audiogram. So you've seen those things where, like, let's say it really is a podcast and you didn't have the video, then you could just do an audiogram, and you can see that it's going to create like this little video with the, you've probably, most people have probably seen this before. Yep. But you can do this right here in the app, which is really neat. And then let's say you are using a video editor. So for some of the firms that have a little extra help, or if you want to outsource this to an external editor, which is not a bad idea. If you find an editor, a video editor, where you can kind of basically tell them what to do, and they're not doing a lot of extra creative work, you can find people to execute on these videos clips and polish them up and make them a little bit better, so that you're not doing the title and the caption part of it. So it's like, you kind of have to feel out like what you want to do and what you don't, but you could easily find a video editor to help you do these clips for 10 to 20 bucks an hour. And if they are helping you, you can go up to share, and you can just share the project with them, and then they can take the clips and actually polish them up and do that for you. So it's just that there's just really so much you can do with this. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's a great one. I have not seen that kind of program work before, and have always thought it's probably pretty complicated to do, and it looks pretty simple from the way you showed it.
Yeah, so like the main skill, like, so if you think about your workflow and like how much time is this actually going to take, it's like, well, there's going to be some setup, right, to get all of this going. And once you're going, you show up and do the recording for an hour. Maybe you prepped, maybe you have some time each week where you do a little preparation. And then depending on how you want to get the work done, all you have to do is come in here and make the clips. And making the clips is a little bit of a learned skill, like where do you start it and where do you end it? You don't, it's like, so that the clip has a lot of impact, but it's really not as complicated as you would imagine.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Cool. And so one other thing I might show here, let me think about this, is that
do you want to launch the last poll question, Tom, while he's looking for the next thing?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so great point. You showed one of the easy ways things can get done. So I think it's great to, as people are thinking about would they do this, just being honest about what might hold you back from doing video content.
Yeah, and then I think what I might show just kind of in the last couple minutes, I think I just closed the slides, didn't I? Let me pull that back open real quick while the poll's going.
Yep.
So then the other question sometimes people ask me is, they're worried about like how many like how do I build a big massive podcast, or how do I get people to even know this stuff exists, right? Which is it's a valid concern. You don't need to have a ton of subscribers, because you're distributing a lot of this stuff on social media, and really where you're trying to make the early impact is just around that part of it. But let me just get my slides going here, so I'm ready when the poll is done.
We have about 15, 20 seconds, and I'll go ahead and close down the final poll.
Cool. I'll just show like a couple of examples, really just one that on LinkedIn, because it's kind of a funny example.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close that. And Stephen, I'll show just really quickly. This is interesting. So 55% are saying time. That doesn't surprise me. 42% just the willingness to admit kind of fear and imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
I think is a really good, honest answer.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I always show that slide, because like I have it too. And I'll be honest, like there are times where I have it even now. So you start to learn to be comfortable with it. Like I'll be honest, like I was a little nervous before this presentation. I don't mind saying that. But you start like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and it can get kind of exciting. And like I said, you become confident. So real quick, just so people understand, like on the like I guess like on like where the rubber meets the road, how do you get people to know about these different events that you might be doing? Let me show you this poll, or this this thing I did this morning. So on LinkedIn, you can make make posts and you can bring awareness to things. And so I did a funny thing. I'm doing right after this, I'm doing a live on TikTok on the 10 different videos that you can create if you want to get into TikTok. So I did a funny post where I just said, hey, I got in a fight with a kid today, which is gonna drive, I didn't really, obviously, but it's gonna like capture people's attention. And I said, actually his friends too, let me explain. And then I just like,
are you gonna tell us why? Or are you gonna make us go to your LinkedIn to find?
I told a fictional story about how I saw some kids and they were filming some videos, and how I asked them what they were doing. They said they were doing TikTok, and I said, and they got mad at me once they learned I had more followers than they did. So I was just kind of making a joke, and then I just linked to the event here, right? And so obviously, if you're just getting going and you haven't done this before, when you do stuff like this, it's not like you're going to get 1 million people coming, but most businesses don't need 1 million people, right? So it's like if you're realistic with how many clients you actually need, then you don't need to get ahead of yourself. So anyways, this is how you bring attention to it. So I had a bunch of people interact with it. I posted this just a few hours ago. Lots of comments, lots of engagement, and I do this on a regular basis. So I just post videos and let people know that events are coming, and I'm just really diligent about it. And it's all it really comes down to. And then I also do that on some other platforms as well, and I use email, but I won't digress into every
that's a
little
really good example.
But it's you can have fun with some of this stuff. It doesn't have to feel so. Oh, we got to pump through the slides because sorry about that. So just bear with me. Apologize.
While you're scrolling for that, Stephen, you did a live, I think it was it Monday or Tuesday? It was like a different day
Tuesday.
than your normal lives, that I watched, and you had a woman on who is doing TikTok videos, but she is I think it's a dyslexia coach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like a professional, but she was, I just remember her saying how she was like, you just got to start. Like, you just got to start doing it, and don't worry about what people think. Don't worry about, your fear, whatever. And she's like, and your content probably will not be good at first, and it will improve with time, because the more you do, you start to learn like what resonates with people and what gets people to engage, and you just start getting better at it the more you're doing it. So I really liked what she said about that.
Yeah, and so that's why I try to address the fear and the imposter syndrome and the time all at once, right? Because if you realize that the thing that's going to make it work for you is the fact that there are those barriers, right? So especially in the CPA industry, like, there's not going to be a lot of people that follow your lead. If you just take things step by step and you don't let them overwhelm you, then you will succeed. I guarantee it. But you just have to go through it. So next steps, you can obviously do nothing. If things are the way you want right now and you're where you need to be, then don't worry about it. You can go it alone. You can implement these different things if you just go patiently, and you can literally just follow the steps that I laid out here, and you can execute this on your own. If you do want to get some help with that, I can do that. Again, I'm Stephen Pope, SGP Labs, and I help professionals leverage video, online marketing, and content repurposing to generate revenue without wasting a lot of time and money. And the one thing I just wanted to say is, like, be the 1%, be the one that actually takes some of this and just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take action. I'm going to avoid the regret, and I want to help more people and make more money. So I just encourage you to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good push for people. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Thanks, Kelly. So if people want to keep learning, Kelly had mentioned that we have a podcast that we do, the Modern CPA Success Show. You can see that it's available there on YouTube. So people can see an awful lot of things for that.
So if you want to continue learning from Stephen, you can hop off this, go to his LinkedIn, and click on his live link and continue watching him. But he's got to rush off just a few minutes early to get to that. So
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Yes, thank you very much. So I assume people can now see my slide here. So also, if people want to get more interactive, you can join our CFO community. So a place where lots of different CPAs are interacting and sharing information. Kelly helps us with a marketing channel there. We have a community where people can just ask general questions and exchange information. So a pretty active group. And you can see that we have a promotion code if people want to join that. Also, if you want, we have a course. So I mentioned that I'm one of our full-time virtual CFOs. If that's of interest to you, we have a course teaching people how to do that, an actual playbook. A fairly intensive 15 modules. So really everything that we do with videos, guides, worksheets, it comes with a free coaching session with us, a free book, subscription to the community that I had just mentioned. There's a weekly meeting where multiple CPAs get together and talk about offering these kinds of services, and tools that we have like our pricing sheet, things like that. So if that's of interest, we really do encourage that. This is an excellent course, and all of our team members go through, and I just met with one of our new team members this morning saying that was a really helpful thing for her in this first week, just to learn everything that we're doing internally. Finally, we are always looking for good people. So if what we talked about today, if the things you heard about that Summit CPA is doing is of interest to you, please contact us. We'd love to talk to you about working with us. Kelly, thank you very much. I'd like to thank all of our people for participating today, and we'll look forward to seeing people next month.
All right. Thanks, Tom.